he should challenge Conor McGregor. Like, can you imagine that?
No, I couldn't imagine that.
Fight?
Europe would explode. The whole continent would be on fire.
Welcome to First Strike, only on VSiN, the sports betting network. Here's your hosts, Dave Ross and Rob Moreno.
We are back, First Strike here on VSiN. Dave Ross going to be joined by Rob Moreno as we do each and every week in this program. But look who it is, America. Chicago's finest back on the show. Jordan Sherwood, give him a follow on X on Wood on ESPN 1000. Jordan, always great to have you back on the program, my friend. How is Chicago this time of year? I believe you say the most beautiful city in the world. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, for the next 2.5 months, I will argue against any other city that's put up against it. We have hit it, right? We're now 75 and sunny. It's going to be beautiful for the next 2.5 months. And, it's always exciting, too, when there's some baseball to talk about on both sides of town. Right now, the Cubs in the middle of one of the worst losing streaks we've ever seen. And the White Sox actually are fun, and they can play some baseball. So it should make for an exciting summer in Chicago. So happy to talk about it and kind of kickstart it with you, a guy that's familiar with what we can do here in Chicago.
In my 8 years there, Jordan, I always said it was the best 2 weeks of summer anywhere in the world. You're going to give it 2 full months. So, it's certainly different viewpoints on that one there. Jordan, I look at this card here, UFC Macau coming up this weekend here. Song Yadong is a massive favorite in the main event against Deiveson Figueiredo. I think you and I, as far back as we go with this show, back to 2021, always loved to bet a guy like Deiveson Figueiredo back in the day. I guess the key is back in the day. Like, do we now look at it and go, man, normally at plus 440, I might want to try to get to the dog side and the Figgy side. I don't know how I do that here against Song Yadong in a potential 5-round main event. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, well, I'll make some arguments on a way you do it. And I agree with you that, the price is fishy, plus 440. You're talking about a former champion, now is 38 years of age. He had to move up in weight because he could not make the flyweight weight anymore. So he's done okay at bantamweight. I mean, look at the losses in bantamweights. 1-3 in his last 4. Peter Yan, the champion. Corey Sandhagen, probably in a number 1 contender spot if he wins at the White House. And Umar Nurmagomedov, probably the consensus, number 1, fighter. So he's not losing to mediocre fighters. He's losing to the top tier. And when you look at Yadong, I think that his path to success, primarily, at least from a price standpoint, is winning inside the distance and winning by TKO. Well, Deiveson Figueiredo has been stopped twice by strikes, but he's never been knocked out. He had the injury against Sandhagen and the corner stoppage against Moreno. So he's never been knocked out before. So now you're asking me, okay, 5-round fight. Yadong probably needs to knock him out, or is he going to win on points? Is he going to do that? I'm not yet at the point where I can confidently say Yadong is consistent enough and a guy that's going to outpoint Figueiredo. So for me, actually, it might be a look at the underdog at this price, thinking that maybe there's one more championship level type moment in Deiveson before he rides off into the sunset. He's no longer a factor at any weight class he competes at.
And Rob knows this now, doing the show with me each and every week. I love to look at those totals, right? Especially if I don't like the side. And I think I'm kind of with you. I'm not in the business of laying $6 unless we see no pathway to victory for the other fighter in a fight like this. And I think you can make an educated argument if Figgy's got, and they always say, great fighters always have at least one great fight left in them. So we don't know if it's going to be this opportunity here. I'm looking at the total 4.5, and it's even money to the under. Now, if Yadong is just now raising his game, championship level, and Figgy's the next guy, and you get that name on your resume, to your point, I think he would probably be looking to get a finish stylistically to say to Dana White and, Sean Shelby and the company, hey, I'm ready again for championship level stuff. Look what I just did to Deiveson Figueiredo, right? Could Figgy also be a kill or be killed fighter at this point? Does he really want to go 25 hard minutes? Or do you think he's going to look for taking shots, jumping gillies, figuring out ways that maybe puts himself in more risk, but there could be a reward there, and that could get us to an underplay either way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more on the latter. It's more on Figgy just deciding not wanting to fight anymore and putting himself in a precarious position where he's forced to tap, even though he's not forced to tap. He just chooses to tap. And obviously a guy that had to sit on his corner and and not win the fight against Moreno, you question about that. He's going overseas, right? He's fighting in, his opponent's home country.
Yep.
He's going to have the go against the backing of the home crowd. So there's a lot of variables in that regard, which is why I would also look to the total. But again, he's not, Figueiredo's not going up there against a grappler that's going to, take him down and look to submit him. So that solution to a ending is probably out the door for me. It goes back to that knockout factor. And I just don't think Yadong is going to knock out Deiveson Figueiredo. So I worry about your total at 4.5. I think this probably goes to the judges.
Ooh.
And I'll take a risk there with Figueiredo. Maybe he can win out on a split there.
All right, so leaning towards the big dog price here that you can get here early in the week. A massive dog. And by the way, if you go via decision, Figueiredo's 8-1, Jordan. So that get a little bit more bang for your buck there if we get 25 minutes of fighting in Macau. Speaking of, obviously, Deiveson being a Brazilian, we've got an American doing the same thing here with Alonzo Menefield going up there against Mingyang Zhang. And Zhang is a massive favorite in this one. Not as big as the main event, but minus 258. Comeback in the American side is plus 210. So again, we're in Macau. This is priced at 7.5 minutes. So it's telling us much more finishing potential than what we might see in the main event. Is this a steam wrecker here, and Menefield's going to be in the way on the wrong side of against a guy like Mingyang Zhang?
Yeah, I'm kind of titling this fight card as UFC Macau Illusion, because I think there's an illusion with a lot of these fighters and these odds. Like, what is Zhang really? What is he? We don't really know, because he looked impressive against, your buddy Anthony Smith in his retirement fight, right? So, like, you knew Zhang was going to win.
Right.
And then he goes out there, main event slot. You expect him to immediately steamroll Johnny Walker, who's been steamrolled by half of the light heavyweight division, and he doesn't do it. So, who is this guy? Alonzo Menefield, I think, is the strong guy at the barbecue, right? Athletically gifted, built like a Mack truck, and has some surprises out there, but like, theoretically, this is a guy that Zhang should just walk to the center of the octagon and knock out. Like, the under at 1.5, the TKO in round 1. If I want to get really statistical on you, Menefield is 0-2-1 in his career outside of North America. So he doesn't fight well on foreign soil, if you want to go into that. But you just said it. The price point on Zhang is just way too high, because you just don't know. Is this guy a paper champion? Is he, what was the dude that Tommy Morrison knocked out in Rocky 5, right? Is he that dude, the paper champion? I don't know. So much risk. I think the comfort probably is Zhang inside the distance or via TKO in the first round, but I'm always want to stay away from this one, because there's just so many variables that you just don't know.
That's funny because, again, Rob Moreno is going to join us here in a little bit. We were talking about this. It does feel like a lot of dog or pass type scenarios on this card here, and this might be another one. But I'd be with you. If you made me play it, I'd probably play the total under. I'd rather lay that juice at $1.80 than laying the 258. Because if Mingyang doesn't get him out of there, kind of like the Johnny Walker conversation, that's where the trouble arises. The longer the fight goes, the more advantage the American would have. Theoretically, I'm terrible with time change, as you know, so maybe that's plagued Alonzo whenever he leaves the United States. It doesn't work out well. Sergey Pavlovich is a guy we talked about in championship circles a couple of years ago. Now, Thaleson Teixeira, the talented Brazilian, is a massive underdog against Sergey here. What version of Pavlovich do we see? And do you want to lay 625 here with Sergey against Teixeira?
I mean, again, I think the illusion is Teixeira. I mean, you're probably going to boast, because I think you had Derek Lewis in the fight with him and Teixeira, right? Okay, fine.
I did.
Controversial stoppage, whatever. He lost the fight. Then he goes out and throws out that absolute dud in Australia. Like,
Terrible.
What was that? So, like, who is Thaleson Teixeira? Is he just this big oaf of a fighter that you touch him up and he's in trouble, or not? So, yeah, again, probably the smart money is Pavlovich. Pavlovich is only losing to the elite fighters that are out there, the Volkovs of the world, obviously the Thomas Almeidas of the world. So likely Pavlovich inside round 1 via TKO. But again, there's just so much of an illusion in regards to the share. There's a little bit of me that still thinks he is this monster that can take advantage of this reach and this height and this power that he has. But He does not give me a lot of confidence in his last 2 fights.
Again, I could only play the under. It's $1.75 at 7.5 minutes versus laying 625 with Sergey, because the longer the fight goes, again, the better chance you would think for the dog price here on Teixeira if he can get out of that first 5 minutes, which I don't know that he can. But am I willing to lay over $6 to make that assertion? Probably not. Jordan, when I look at Kai Asakura, I have a feeling you might tell me who is this guy, because we threw him right in for a title shot right out of the jump. And then a talented guy in Cameron Smotherman, I believe. And Cameron's a pretty big dog here at plus 240. Should Kai be a $3 betting favorite against Cameron Smotherman?
Absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
the 2 performances Kai Asakura has had since coming over to the UFC, and not only the performance, getting finished, so, the price point, though, has been going down. It has been going down. I think people are jumping on that bandwagon that he is not as talented as he is coming into the fight, but nor is Cameron Smotherman. So if I get this price, and it's a big if, I get this price to like $2, I'll probably fire off on Asakura. I feel like you're giving him an opportunity to fight on home soil in front of his home country men and women, being comfortable in that time zone against a guy that he should be better everywhere. Cameron Smotherman really just not a guy that I think has lived up to a lot of the hype. So I think Asakura to win, and Asakura to win maybe via submission. I think that the grappling is going to come into a little bit of a factor there. Smotherman's been taken down a lot in his career, but the price point, again, really way too high right now. But this one, unlike the Teixeira fight or the Figueiredo fight, or the Menafield fight, so to speak, is not more heavily on the dog. It's more sort of just waiting for that line to get a little bit better for that favorite for me to fire off on Asakura.
Are you surprised by the total? Because you can get plus money for over 2.5 rounds right now, plus $1.24. Or do you think because Kai has had a couple clunkers, been stopped a couple times, that they're saying, oh, somebody's going to get finished here? $1.60 is what you'd have to lay to go the under. I think at first blush, and tell me what you think, that over does feel like it might be in play at a plus $1.24.
Yeah, I think if you're believing in that, then you're looking at Asakura wanting to be safe, get a win.
Yeah, right.
Make sure that he keeps himself employed by the UFC. But I could turn that around and argue that, like, this is a fight to have Asakura look good, to give him that confidence, and it's against a fighter that he could go out there and finish, and likely should finish. But I think probably it's more so on the former. Asakura needs to play it safe. He knows he's better than this guy. He can beat him everywhere. Get to the judges' scorecards, get a dominant decision win, and keep yourself employed by the UFC.
Okay, 2 fighters I know you know everything about. So you're not going to say to me, well, what do we know about this guy? I know you know Alex Perez and Sumaderji here. And now this is one of the closest line fights that we have in the entire card. I'm actually excited to watch this on the prelims here. I believe it's, it is on the main card that they're going to have here. I think it's the first fight to kick off that main card. Sumaderji's plus $1.20 as a dog. Alex Perez, small favorite, $1.42. Again, 2.5 rounds. Not juiced heavily, but $1.30 to the over, which still tells me at even money for the under, we're expecting fireworks. I don't know if we're going to get a finish, but I think we're going to get fireworks in this fight. Do you think Sumaderji should be a plus $1.20 betting underdog?
I think that's fair. Alex Perez has been in there with better competition. Obviously he's fought for a championship. I think the illusion, and our good buddy, Lou Finocchiaro is probably losing whatever hair he has left, thinking about Alex Perez on the scale. Like, is he going to make weight? Like, the dude, that's the big question with Alex Perez. I think he missed weight in his last fight, and then he wins by knockout in the first round. So, that's a guy that also is a kill or be killed. Sumaderji kind of in the same ilk. So I think fireworks galore. I do think the under, and I have the confidence that Alex Perez better. Just based on the competition, based on what I've seen, that he could win a stand-up fight against Sumaderji. Grappling's not going to come into a play there, so I think Perez is a safe play.
I want to back the under.
Again, the weight issue.
That's the way. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to play the under here as well, because I'm with you at even money. I think it's a good price point. I also want to know who the referee is, because I wonder when you get these guys in there, they let them go, man, because we know their pedigrees, some firefights they've been in the past, and they just don't want to stop these things. And I'll be yelling, "Stop it! Stop it! Let's get this thing under."
I think of the Sumaderji Matt Schnell fight when I think of that. Like, I don't know how they allowed Matt Schnell to to win the fight. Because I mean, he did, but like that
He
fight should
was
have been stopped
out
3 times.
7 times, and they never stopped that fight. And that's what I go back to. And I go, they
Yeah.
can't do that again, Jordan, to me if I play this under, but they can. Okay, I got to look ahead because I want to get your thoughts. The big news in the last week was the return of the Mac. Conor McGregor's coming back in here, and he's going to fight Max Holloway. Those two guys have been sniping on social media, kind of going back to their first fight, which feels like 30 years ago. It isn't that long, but I believe it was 2014 or 2013 in there. So it's been a long time since we've seen these two guys against each other. The number's coming down a little bit because Max, when this fight opened, I think he was well over a $4, if not close to a $5 betting favorite. So it has come down. They're fighting this fight at 170. I know we haven't seen Conor in forever. We've seen much more Max Holloway. But at 170, what am I missing on Conor McGregor as nearly a $3 betting underdog?
What's the question? Are you surprised that the lines continue to drop? 'Cause
No.
that's Irish money coming in, we've seen it time and time again. Okay, so I think the objective way to look at it is, he's not fighting a grappler. Max
Right.
is not a grappler, so he's gonna get the fight that he can be favored, always to survive in. It's at 170. We've never seen Max at 170 pounds. And as much of a sitcom slash drama that Conor McGregor's life is outside the octagon, like the dude still is an athlete and the dude still can fight.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why it's dropping. Please let it continue to drop, because if it gets to that favorable price on Max Holloway, you fire off a Max Holloway. I think the other thing too about Max is like, what is left for Max? I think that's the big storyline. We were talking about it on the Unnamed MMA podcast. It's a sad moment when you realize that Max Holloway's likely never going to be competing for a championship again, and he's still 34 years of age. He's just now in money fights, the BMF titles, or whatever else he can get, and getting knocked out. Even though getting knocked out or getting dominated by the 3 guys he just did, Ilia Topuria, Ilia Topuria twice, excuse me, and then Charles Oliveira, right? So he's losing to the best of the best fighters we have. Conor McGregor's not that, but that's my logical reasoning why that the price is dropped. What's your thought on it, Dave?
I mean, to me, I said right when the fight was made and I saw the price point came out, I said, you got to hop on Conor McGregor at this price point, just because of the size difference that we're going to see from these guys. And I'm going to get your thoughts on another size difference fight coming up at Freedom 250. But I looked at that and I went, Conor's just going to be so much naturally bigger. Like, I was there, 11 years ago now, his first loss ever to Nate Diaz. People forget that was at 170. Right, when Conor couldn't make the 45s and the 55s, had to vacate those belts and kept moving up because he couldn't make the weight. Well, 170, we have no idea what Conor looks like. I bet you, Jordan, he's probably walking around at what? 215? He's going to look huge, comparatively speaking, to Max. So if Max can slick box him for 25 minutes, he wins a decision. But is Max Holloway going to knock out like Dustin the Diamond Poirier did back in the day, Conor McGregor, at an elevated weight? I don't think so. So to me, the only way I could play it, dare I say, is Conor McGregor right now, that he would knock out Max Holloway, who has now getting chinny because Father Time is undefeated, as we know. Jordan, speaking of that,
would be the best thing for the UFC if
Conor gets knocked out.
If that happened, because then the world is his oyster. I mean, he could probably convince an argument to go fight for the 170-pound title, which would be funny to see him fight Ian Gary or Michael Morales or Islam Makhachev.
Could you imagine that? But you're right. That's exactly what the organization would absolutely love. When I just keep looking at this as we get closer and closer to Freedom 500 at the White House lawn. They've started construction on that at the White House. It's just bizarre that this is actually happening, Jordan. I can't believe it is happening. But look, I love it. I mean, I want to see this stuff. I like the theater of the absurd sometimes. It doesn't bother me. Gaethje is much, much bigger than Ilia Topuria, just physically, right? When you watch them in the stare downs and the face-offs and that sort of thing. He's also a $5 betting underdog to Ilia Topuria. So is he going to walk through Gaethje like he did Max Holloway and knock him out with one of the most brutal knockouts you're ever going to see, as he's done to Alexander Volkanovski, one of the best, if not the best 145-pounder of all time? I mean, he has walked through some really good champions of their day. After what Gaethje just did to Paddy Pimblett, which did surprise me, guilty as charged on that one. Okay, I was on the Pimblett side. Is Topuria going to walk through Justin Gaethje? Because don't see that happening.
Yes, he's going to walk through him.
Walk right through him.
He's going to walk right. Ilia Topuria is that special athlete. He's got that Conor aura that Conor had when he was dominating 145 and then jumped up to 155. No disrespect to Justin Gaethje, fantastic fighter. I was on the Paddy Pimblett side. I didn't think Gaethje was going to win that fight, but he did. You know, this is going to be a tough day for Americans to see their American champion get knocked out by a Spaniard. I'm sorry, but yes, I just don't see any reason to play Justin Gaethje. If you told me that Gaethje would have ever wrestled, maybe I could believe it a little bit because that I'd like to see that be a factor against Topuria. But no, this is going to be a kickboxing match, and I think that Ilia Topuria is going to land something brutal and shut the lights out on Justin Gaethje, unfortunately.
Well, if you're right, that means, you know, we have to do, Jordan, is start the Spanish-American War Part 2. I mean, this is what we're going to have to do, Spain,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
I won't say this publicly, but I guess I will say it publicly right now. I've already backed a Frenchman against a Brazilian. I love the price point on Cyril Gane against Alex Pereira here. I mean, again, I go back to the Aspinall fight. I thought he was absolutely going to whip Tom Aspinall if he doesn't do Three Stooges and poke him in the eye, and then we got to stop the fight, and then we haven't seen Aspinall in forever because of that. Like, if he does the same technique that he was doing against Aspinall, which is level change, look to grapple, and not stand in front of Pereira, are you with me on the Frenchman on this side here? Basically a pick and price?
If he does that, yes. But I think that I think the performance that he was doing and executing against Aspinall was an asterisk. I don't think that the spotlight and the fact now that he's going up against a guy that's going to look to annihilate that front leg. I mean, leg kicks do bother Cyril Gane. He does not like them one bit. And there's been too many times prior to the performance against Aspinall where he just has put up a dud. And Alex Pereira obviously has been in there now with the best of the best, and he has shown the brightest. And maybe I'm being biased and blindsided, but I want to see history made. I want to see a guy win a title in 3 different weight classes, and I think Pereira is certainly the guy to do it. And Gane is the heavyweight to do it against. So I actually probably more so leaning on the Pereira side. So you and me are oppo on both main and co-main event for that. Real quick though, I want to just go back if I could, or go back but forward to the International Fight Week. I do believe if Paddy Pimblett is successful against BSD, he should challenge Conor McGregor. Like, can you imagine that?
No, I couldn't imagine that.
Like,
Europe would explode. The whole continent would be on fire.
Yeah.
Paddy against Conor McGregor.
Paddy, right? And I want to get back in the mix real quick. Be like, I'll take on the winner of the next fight.
Are you a matchmaker now? Have you talked to Sean Shelby?
You know, I mean, Sean occasionally needs some help, so he'll float one out to Chicago if he wants some recommendations. But I would love to see that. We've talked about there too the possibilities of that happening if Paddy is successful. But BSD is no joke. So good, Paddy, defend yourself. Don't lean in with your face because that's not going to be a good strategy.
That's what worries me. That's a correlated play for me. If Paddy Pimblett can extend that fight, then he can beat BSD. If this thing goes out early, I think it's Paddy that goes out. I know he says Scousers don't get knocked out, but it's going to be tough if you stand there against a French. We know what type of fighter he was in real life, and now he's taking that skill set to the octagon. Very dangerous man that you're in there against Benoit Saint-Denis. The Unnamed MMA Pod, tell the people about it, how they access it, and how it's sweeping the country.
Yeah, available where any podcasts are found. So, Spotify and an ESPN Chicago app. We're breaking down all the fights. We're talking about the storylines a little bit more as well in this version of it. So check us out. And then one play for you, Angela Hill. I like her, veteran. Plus 160 against the girl that's coming in, making her debut. Smaller fighter, going to get a stand-up war. I think split decision, Angela Hill. Give me plus 160 for the veteran. Get it done one more time.
Levels to this. Angela Hill is about to do it. Yeah, she loves this fight. First time in the UFC, you're going to get Angela Hill? Good luck with that. Very quickly, have you already printed or bought your Super Bowl tickets for the Bears this year?
100%, man. Schedule goes out. It's like, remember when Frank Caliendo did Gruden? Win, buy, win. 17-0, man.
That's where you guys are. Jordan, you're the best. Wood on ESPN 1000. Really appreciate your time as always, brother. Enjoy your 2 months of summer in Chicago.
All right. You're welcome anytime, Dave. Come on and visit.
I got to get back there and make the pilgrimage just so we can have pizza together. There he is, everybody. Jordan Sherwood. We're coming back with Rob Moreno, El Modelo next right here on VSiN First Strike.
You're tuned in to First Strike, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We are back, First Strike here on VSiN, and there he is, back off vacation. Rob Moreno, El Modelo back in the house. Great conversation with Jordan Sherwood. First of all, before we get into your model plays that you have, how was vacation, my man? Was it nice with the UFC having a week off? You took a week off as well.
It was very nice. As much as we love the sport, as much as we love the grind, it's nice to just not plug into the everyday of it for a week. Dana White, sometimes I need more time off if we can. But no, it was very nice to just unplug from the UFC. Went to Florida, enjoyed some humid heat instead of the Vegas heat. If people have been to both, they're very different. It was nice to have some moisture in the air, if you know. So it was nice. I couldn't get us to get a Circa Sportsbook open out there yet. I'll work on it the next time I visit. I'm sorry.
Will you please keep working on that, because you know I'm moving there in a second. Give me that Florida heat. I'm ready for some golf out there as well. We got a great deal right now going on. If you want to be a VSiN Pro subscriber, you haven't subscribed yet, $9.99 is an intro offer for a month. There's other offers that are out there right now where you can get a 14-month deal, which is normally $240 for just $199. That's going to end by the end of May, so you can hop in on that deal if you like. I know it sounds pricey. It's actually less than 50 cents a day, so it's a really good deal, Rob, as you well know. And again, it's not just us here in First Strike. We've got pods galore when you become a VSiN Pro subscriber. You want to bet golf, you want to bet college football, Tim Murray's got you covered. I mean, we got everything that you need under the sun, no matter what sport you like to bet.
We've got a guy, and this time we've got two guys. We got the World Cup on the way. Alex Blowers, one of our engineers, is actually now writing for the website. He's doing some great pieces. And Luke DeVasta, as we all know, producer of Follow the Money, he's got some great pieces. And we've got maybe a little bit more World Cup coverage coming in a couple weeks. So stay tuned, but now's the time to subscribe.
As a guy who only knows American football, that's why we have guys, so I can tail those guys, because they're much smarter when it comes to that stuff than yours truly. Rob, it was a great conversation. Really enjoyed that with Jordan, and we'll piggyback off some of those thoughts that he had as well. And a lot of the questions he had in this card, I think they're fair questions. Like, who is this guy? Am I really laying these type of numbers with some of these fighters? I'm curious what El Modelo and the model shows you, say with a guy like Ming Yang Zhang against Alonzo Menefield. So we know, as Jordan pointed out, Menefield doesn't win outside the United States, but is Zhang this killer that I'm going to be able to lay these type of price points with, and he's just going to walk through our American?
I think Jordan was right in, like, he should do that. And hey, shout out to Jordan, because I didn't know that stat about Menefield. I appreciate a good UFC stat that Menefield is not a winner outside of the US. But yeah, Zhang, he's bouncing back from that KO loss to Johnny Walker that shocked many of us.
But we were on the Johnny Walker side that day.
Right. We actually did a show for that. It's nice when these fighters are coming back in our new First Strike calendar. It's nice to remember that. But, he did win the first round. He got knocked out in the second round. But once again, it was someone he should have displayed who he was at that event, and he didn't. He got knocked out. This is kind of that recovery, hopefully. Alonzo Menefield, there is I believe a 10-year age gap as well. Alonzo Menefield now 38 years old, 2-3 in his last 5. He's recently also knocked out. And I will say one thing: Zhang barely qualifies for the model because his fights have been so short. He wasn't an official model play back last time he fought, because his fights were so short. Now he just hits that 15-minute of cage time, so I'm able to actually run his numbers. But it all goes his way, if I'm being honest. Menefield, his XR percentage is down at 53%. Zhang, 77%. Zhang's striking, it is high output all the time. 7.42 significant strikes landed per minute. Menefield's down at 3.74. The absorption is somewhat high for both of them, but the thing is, Zhang is still dishing out so much more, as if, can Menefield keep up? And Menefield does have knockout power, or sorry, knockdown power as well, obviously. But it's been a while since he's actually hit that. You know, I believe his last knockout win was 2022, and he himself has been knocked down each of his last 3 losses. That's a concern, is that the chin is starting to go. Time, as you like to say, Father Time is undefeated.
It is.
Menifield's negative .16 differential is a red flag for me. He's not winning exchanges, and against a guy like Zhang, who's going to land close to 7 strikes per minute, that's a concern. I wouldn't worry about any grappling. There are 0 takedown attempts from Zhang, and I believe only 5 successful takedowns from Menifield as an entire UFC career. This is a striking matchup, and that's what Zhang wants, and I believe it's what the UFC is setting up here for Zhang to once again shine. The model goes full on Zhang, 82% win probability, tier 1 favorite, but kind of like you guys talked about, the money line, it's like, who is he to be a minus 258 or something favorite? And hey, let's face it, after a week off from the UFC, that's not exactly the type of money line I want to jump on immediately. But it's something I'll be watching, because even the props, I mean, Zhang by knockout, at least I found minus 175. It's not the most appealing thing either. So currently I'm holding back on the way I'm playing this fight, but I am on Zhang all the way.
I do look to the under as well. And again, if you're just looking at a side or a total here, people, you're listening out there, and we appreciate you listening, liking, subscribing to our podcast here on First Strike. That number is significantly shorter. It's 258 on the money line. It's $1.80, so you're saving theoretically about 80 cents, but you only have 7.5 minutes to work. But the thought process is, if you're on the Mingyang Zhang side, you better hope it doesn't go past 7.5 minutes, because that's where the issues arose against, say, a guy like Johnny Walker. And I think, again, the longer the fight goes, the more the dog would be live here, which I don't think that Menifield should be live at plus 210. So to me, if you want to try to get cute, you could look for Mingyang Zhang inside the distance to shave that off. Then you get the full 15 minutes for that possibility to exist. But again, I'm not going to get mad at you, people, if you want to lay $1.80 on the under, because again, there's one thing that is really hard to handicap, Rob, is that when fighters go in, say, Macau, like they're going here for this fight, and you're an American going there, your body clock adjustment, I do think it's a real thing. And, as Jordan pointed out, he's winless outside the United States, not attributing it just to the time change. But a guy like Mingyang Zhang, you're going to be walking into his world on his time clock, his body clock, everything should line up for him. That's why I think it's a short day of the office. I'd probably rather play the under at $1.80 than certainly weighing the almost 260 here on Mingyang Zhang.
I think that's a great way to look at it. It kind of even inside the distance, I couldn't find the exact number, but it is, you're playing with the same type of juice here. So, and that time change is real. Those time zone differences are, real. Hey, I traveled to Florida. That was only 3-hour difference, and I felt it when I came back. I struggled. We're talking about like 8 hours, I believe, plus, depending where they're coming from, but at least for me, currently where I am. So yeah, I like the under. I mean, you shave a little bit off, and it kind of gives you that little wiggle room on the price.
Yeah, get a little double chance too, just in case Menifield is live early in this fight, because again, you would think this is going to be a kill or be killed fight. That's the interesting thing, because I think Jordan looks at the main event here with Song Yadong against Deiveson Figueiredo, same type thing here, right? Where you've got a guy from Brazil now going to Macau to fight Yadong, and there's times where he looks like the best in this division, right? And we know why Figueiredo is now fighting in a different weight class. He couldn't make that weight, but this was one of the best that we saw, a little bit of a lighter weight class. He's still, I think, accounted to himself well moving up in weight. But do you see, is this dog or pass for the model, or what are the numbers showing you?
So Song Yadong's kind of had a weird last few fights, right? I mean, he had that decision loss against Sean O'Malley, which, hey, no pressure on that. That's a former champion. But his last win was also that weird technical decision over Henry Cejudo, another, Stooges situation. Yep. So kind of a weird fight. And that's his last win, but he is 3-2 in his last 5. But it's been a minute since we've seen him the way we kind of presented him as a future champion, potentially. Right. Deiveson Figueiredo is a former champion, 2-time former flyweight champion, now 38 years old again, another huge age gap here for us. He started his bantamweight run 3-0, looked fantastic. Now 1-3 in his last 4. And Jordan's right; those losses are to the elite of the elite in the division. But I personally, I don't know if that 3-0 run was exactly against the best of the division either, right? It's, there's a couple. I mean, he has a submission win over Cody Garbrandt. Like, there's not a lot
That was
to
the first one, the first step
right.
up, right? Yep.
Yeah, so it's like it's hard to weigh that. Now, his last loss, that decision loss to Umar Nurmagomedov, no shame there, but
Nope.
he did miss weight there as well. And I remember thinking that because I equally, at the time, I think he was a 9-1 underdog, and I thought that price was ridiculous. But then he goes and misses weight, and honestly, he got walked through by Umar, just got out-grappled, outworked. So it's kind of weird that he's in a main event spot here, even after missing weight, but it does draw a name. He is a former champion. XR percentages. Figgy, he's got the look of a regressing champion. 44% XR percentage right now. That he's not winning rounds. And yes, he just got dominated by Umar, but that number has been ticking down over time. Song is still at 63%. So not elite, but he's at least figuring out how to win. He knows how to strike. He knows how to win on points. Significant strikes landed per minute. Song 4.42, nice clean output. 0.48 differential. Figueiredo is where I have a concern because his output's very low. 2.63 significant strikes landed per minute with a negative 0.84 differential. So he's also getting outstruck due to his low volume as well. Knockdowns. Song has 7, so he has power. Figueiredo, 12 knockdowns scored in his UFC career. The little guy's got power, but here's my concern. He only has 1 in his last 8 fights. Those knockdowns have happened many, many moons ago. I'm not sure that power is translated. I don't believe he has a knockdown since moving up in weight either, so that power hasn't translated. And times knocked down, Yadong Song has never been knocked down, so it's going to be hard to land that shot. Hey, I always say, it does take one magical shot for everything to change and that to be thrown out. But on paper, currently, that shouldn't be what we're worried about. Takedowns, not a lot going on from Song, if I'm being honest. He does have a stronger control rate, 61% control rate in clinch and ground time. So he does find a way to use his pressure, use his size. Figueiredo down at 48%. He does not use that part of his game. Figueiredo does still kind of try to stay busy in his takedowns, though. He does attempt 2.29 per 5 minutes, and he has landed a takedown or two in his last few fights. So it's possible he could get there, but 35% accuracy over the long haul of his career, not sure that happens. Song has a 74% takedown defense, so it's going to be tough for him to get there. The model agrees with the sports book. He is the favorite. Song Yadong, 71% win probability, elite favorite. He should get this victory, but once again, what are we doing with these odds? Minus 600. I mean, he keeps bouncing between minus 550, minus 600. Minus 600 is just absurd for that kind of price. Totally. I'm not sure I can find my way to Figgy. But I think, once again, going to totals, I think this is a hard fought fight for both men. And I think this goes to a decision. Whether or not you want to go with Song by decision plus 175. Actually, it moved plus 110, I think. Yeah, plus 110.
Wow.
Or just playing the over if you think Figgy might find a way too.
I've been trying to get to the under, ironically, in this fight here because I can get some even money, maybe a little bit of plus money, plus $1.05 out there. In some places, $1 even money here. I'm seeing at DraftKings as we have this conversation. And when you mentioned the Garbrandt fight, his first fight up there, and he did win by submission. And the reason why I bring that up is, I mean, can he really hands fight with Song Yadong for 25 minutes? That feels like a big ask to me. So at some point, I wonder if he pulls guard. I wonder if he just says, all right, this is not working out for me on the hand. So the only advantage potentially I could have is show off my skill set, which he definitely has on the ground. And again, missing weight, you would think that Yadong would be naturally bigger than a guy moving up in weight. But if Figgy is still struggling now at this weight class, how much bigger will Song Yadong be? I don't know, right? Like, we'll wait and see how that looks on Saturday. But could you see a scenario where Figgy tries to take the fight down to the ground if he thinks theoretically he has an advantage there?
I think so. Like I said, he's got numerous submission attempts in his career. He has submission victories in his career, I believe 4. So I could see that, kind of like you said, if he's struggling on the feet and just can't figure out a way to essentially avoid the size of Song Yadong, he has a height advantage. He doesn't have a reach advantage, but like you said, come weigh-in day, if Figueiredo's starting to struggle with this new weight class and keeping weight, I'm curious to see what that weight cut looks like. But you're right. I could see him trying to pull guard, trying to create a little bit of chaos on the ground to hopefully find a route. But that's kind of like a Hail Mary in my mind for Deiveson. It's kind of, I think Jordan said it. It's like, how much more does he want to fight in the cage. 25 minutes with Song Yadong standing is going to be brutal if that's the path he has to go through.
Very quickly, because again, if I'm looking for dogs, it's hard for me to find them. Like Tauschen Teixeira does not excite me against Sergey Pavlovich. Again, I go back to the Volkov fight. Remember, he was mad at Volkov after the fight was bizarre. But like normally Sergey wants to fight and knock you out. So that's the path I would see there for why he's a big favorite. Kaya Azakura against Cameron Smotherman. I'm slightly intrigued by this fight, but again, to Jordan's point of who is Kaya Azakura, a couple title fights haven't gone well. Does he finally look good against Cameron Smotherman to get a stoppage? I'm not quite sure there. I guess the fight that maybe I'm looking at a dog is Sumaderji against Alex Perez. And again, you can go back to that Matt Danger Snell fight against Sumaderji, which is just one of the wildest fights I think I've ever seen. And I want to get to an under, but yet it feels like with these two veterans, they let these guys go forever. And you're like, stop the fight, and never get stopped. Is there anything out of those three that the model might like at all, Rob?
The model sees a very chalky night. Now, a lot of those guys you mentioned, they're not playable fighters from the model. That doesn't see full confidence, right? It doesn't see full confidence in Pavlovich. There's some, Teixeira's got some skill, but I would never find my way there. Kind of like you guys talked about it. He's looked very unimpressive in his last two fights. Asakara, I'm not sure he's the guy we thought he was, but we'll see. Some guys do struggle when they arrive to the UFC. But equally, he should get it done. So it's hard for me to see Smotherman at that dog price. If I had to go with those, I'm with you. Sumaderji, the model does like Alex Perez, but it doesn't have full confidence in him. And I see Sumaderji having more tools, actually, than Alex Perez. Alex Perez is tough. Don't get me wrong. Former title contender and all that. But, I mean, Sumaderji, higher XR percentage. That reach is crazy. 7-inch reach advantage. He's got the striking tools as well. I mean, he has a much better differential, 2.08 differential on his 4.43 landed. So he absorbs so much less. I could see him having the tools to get this done. Where Alex Perez kind of wins in the model is his grappling number, 74% control rate. But every fight is different, and I think Sumaderji, if I had to pick one of those three dogs, because this is a very chalky card so far, and unfortunately the chalk is huge for most of these. Plus 120 on Sumaderji. I do like that number if I had to go with one of those three.
What do they call it? Like hot girl summer? I think this is like hot fight summer because we've got some amazing fights that they're for June and July here. Obviously, we've got Freedom 250 coming up at the White House, construction being built there. And then we've got the return of the Mac and Conor McGregor against Max Holloway. That's going to be in July. I mean, I didn't think we'd be talking about these fights. I can't wait to talk all summer about them. But Rob, when you look at some of the numbers, talking about big favorites, Max is a massive favorite against Conor. Ilya Topuria is almost a $7 betting favorite against Justin Gaethje. And I think that Jordan Sherwood burst my bubble on the Gaethje side here as I'm trying to get to the dog there. And even, he really does like maybe history in the making here for Alex Pereira to be a 3-division champ, which we've never seen against Cyril Gane. I kind of lean the Gane side here in the Frenchman. I'll never admit that in a court of law. But are there any of those three fights that you think are worth betting today, or is it more a wait and see approach?
I do want to see my updated Pereira. See, it's still minus 110. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's still minus 110 both ways. There's not a lot of movement. I'm curious to see if it moves more. I personally, I'm with Jordan. I want to see history, and I'm not sure if it's my heart or my brain, but I want to see history. I want to see Pereira hold a third belt.
I'm rooting for history too, boys. But but he thought it was that performance that we were witnessing with Gane, where he was clearly dominating against Aspinall. His point was he thinks that was the aberration, and maybe closer to the John Jones fight where he looked fish out of water against John Jones. And John Jones could be the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. It's very debatable. You know what I mean? So it's easy to look fish out of water against any version of John Jones. Where are you on that though? For Gane, was that a fluke performance against Aspinall, or just Tom having an off night at the beginning of that fight?
I think if I had to dissect where at least I was thinking about that fight back then, I kind of agree with Jordan in the sense that I think Gane stepped up in the moment, but we got to remember Tom Aspinall had been dealing with the whole wanting to fight John Jones for like a year, right? He was on and in and out of camp trying to train for John Jones, and it never happened. And then he just gets scheduled with Cyril Gane. So I think there's more elements, but once again, it's one of those things that in the fight game, you can't measure that stuff. You can't measure where they are mentally most of the time. I mean, you just got to take what happens in the cage. And in the moment, Cyril Gane looked great. Cyril Gane looked great in that fight. I was concerned as a Tom Aspinall backer in the moment. I was like, whoa, Gane is looking good. And then he didn't. But right now, I'm still going Figueiredo, especially at that price. I do think that price goes up. But I want to hit on the Conor McGregor Max Holloway because that is huge. I mean, when the news came out last week, as we mentioned, I was on vacation, but obviously I got those alerts and I had to start hitting my phone. And my wife asked, she's like, what's going on? Because I hadn't been paying attention to my phone at all. I was full vacation mode, and that came through. And I looked at her and I'm like, Conor McGregor's back. And even she went, what? You know? So it's crazy. The part that shocks me is that it's at 170. It doesn't shock me from Conor's side. It shocks me from Holloway's side because he looked so outsized against Charles Oliveira at 155 in their last fight. That is my concern here. Now, if it says striking, sure, I think Holloway can find a way. He's the much more active fighter. Is 25 minutes going to be too much for Conor, who hasn't fought in 5+ years? But minus 355, I can't find my way there right now.
No.
That's too much for Max Holloway in a brand new weight class where he already looked small, 15 pounds lesser. So
I see it the same way. Again, heart would be with Max. Head at this point will be on the dog side here for Conor at 170. You mentioned it too, the size. Max looked smaller than Ilia Topuria at 155. He looked like, he was supposed to be the bigger guy in the octagon that day, and it didn't look that part. That's why we were on the Oliveira side. I kept saying it here, and I remember saying with Lou Finocchiaro too, I just thought he's going to be the bigger guy. He's going to bully Max Holloway. So I kind of see the same way. If Conor is still Conor, at least the semblance of the old Conor, you would think he'd be able to bully Max Holloway around there for a guy that's not going to look to take him down. So it should be stylistically a perfect setup for the return of the Mac. That's the return of First Strike after a week off. Hey, thank you, Dana White. We'll take the week off, but we are back in business, baby. Rob, great stuff as always. Everybody, please like, subscribe, tell people about First Strike. We have a lot of fun doing the program. Also, hopefully very profitable when you watch and listen out there as well. So, for Rob Moreno, for Jordan Sherwood, I am Dave Ross. We'll see you next week right back here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.